Okay, let's call to order the October 19th meeting of the Fire District Board. Can we say the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to the
to the flag of the United States
of America and to
and
the
republic
for which it stands, one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
and
with
justice.
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can we have the roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Aldrich,
Here.
Beckman,
Here.
Fox,
Here.
Verplank,
Here.
Phelps,
Here.
Pullen,
Here.
and Miller.
Here.
Okay, that's everyone. Thank you.
Okay, would you silence your cell phones, please? And we have an approval of the agenda. Chief, I think you had something you wanted to add.
Yes, Ms. Chair, with your permission, there were two things I forgot about. I was up north and I just did not remember. Wanted to update you on the Board of Appeal fee revision. And also I neglected to add on the agenda the topic that we had talked on, the thin red-blue flag that was proposed, and I forgot to put it on the agenda. So I'd like that added under unfinished business 10B and 10C.
Yes. And I would like to add Halloween under new business, just an update.
You bet.
So 11. Okay.
Okay, let's see if I can keep this all straight. Then could I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Second.
I have a motion by Pullen and a second by Fox to approve the agenda as amended. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Pullen,
Yes.
Fox, Aldrich,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Phelps,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes.
That should be everyone.
Okay, moving on, could we have approval of the minutes, please? Of the September 21st meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of September 21st meeting as presented.
I'll support.
Motion by Phelps and support by Aldrich to approve the minutes of the September 21st meeting. Is there any discussion? Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Phelps,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Pullen,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Could we are now into public comment on agenda items only. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. I don't think we have any public, but well, Griffin's here.
Yeah.
He's public.
I'm good. I don't have anything to say. Thank you.
Okay.
Moving on, can we have a request for payments? We have a budget amendment. Peter, do you want to explain the budget amendment? Is Peter here?
He's somewhere.
Yes. Okay, the budget amendment. Okay, item 8A, doing a budget amendment early this year for the first time, and we'll explain that later in the meeting. So we have some increase in revenues, fire services, $5,000 increase, inspection fees, plan review fees, an increase of $4,000 of revenue, cost recovery, an increase of $6,000. And this the next line item is other federal grants of $85,948,000 of increase in revenues, and we'll explain that one here in a second. And then grants / donations, an increase of $4,000. And then operational wages, $27,000 increase. Payroll taxes increase of $3,000. Worker comp insurance, $5,000 increase in retirement, $3,000. So the operational wages, that $27,000 was a grant off that $85,000 that's on the left. For, I don't remember, what was the name of that grant? It was for paid firefighters.
Hazard pay reimbursement.
Yeah, so basically
that's
we gave
the
everybody
abbreviation.
on the roster $1,000, and that's what the grant went for. And we had, basically the department was on the hook for the payroll taxes, the workers' comp insurance, and whatever retirement match. So this is the reason that drove this budget adjustment, that the other federal grants of $85,000, almost $86,000. So I don't know if anybody has any questions on the budget adjustment. Okay, so I guess we need a motion to get it approved.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve budget number 8A, budget revision number 8A. Oh, no, that's not it.
It would be budget amendment
Wait.
number 1, ma'am.
Number 1, budget amendment number 1. I was looking at the wrong thing. Sorry.
Sir.
I'll support.
I have a motion by Pullen and support by Beckman. Is there any discussion? Okay, do we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. All right. Pullen,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Phelps,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, could we have an approval for accounts payable, please?
I'll make a motion to pay the accounts payable of $153,156.84.
I'll support.
Okay, I have a motion by Phelps, support by Beckman. Is there any discussion?
Wanted to ask, if I might,
Go ahead, Dan.
what's the mobile eyes system?
That is our software for fire prevention, fire inspections, Dan.
Thank you.
It tracks all the responses and all the data is extracted from there.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Live fire for 7,500 at Shag Shop. Is that,
That is covered by a grant, Scott. What that is for 2 rooms. You'll see a total payment of just under $10,000, and we received the funds from the state of Michigan fireworks funding for just under $10,000. That will cover that.
The other question I had is, what's the guard post?
So I was walking around the facility like I typically do a couple of times a week, and I noticed our air conditioner condenser was hit and off the pad it was sitting on. There was no damage to the line set, so obviously it was subjected to some damage. So we decided to install posts around the air conditioner condenser, the generator, the gas line, and the gas meter. So we decided to order all the piping, cut to size, set it in concrete, so they're guard posts.
Thank you.
Anything else? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Phelps,
yes?
Beckman,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Pullen,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Peter, can we have a financial report from you?
Yes. 8C, you can see the revenues are kind of the only thing we really collected. The major revenues is that those 2 federal grants and some cost recovery.
And like, regular medical at 55871.
The cost recovery and some other grant/donations. The expenses, or majority of them are in line. The only one that's kind of out of whack right now is 761, which is the boat maintenance, and it says that we're over budget, but there's an insurance claim that's coming in for about, I think Chris told me for about $10,000, so that we won't be over budget once we get the insurance monies back from the lightning strike to the boat. I don't know if anybody has any particular line item questions or on the current budget.
Chris, did we get the insurance back from the strike on the building as well?
Not
That's-
yet, ma'am.
no.
We're waiting. They're still working on fixing a couple of things, and actually we just discovered today that the lawn sprinkler controller was also damaged. So that claim is still open as of now, and once we receive all the invoices, we'll close that one too.
Who gets hit by lightning twice in one summer in 2 different locations?
Greg Janik does. That's my 4th lightning strike.
Must be sending out some signals.
Yeah.
It's those sailboats.
I know, I don't quite know how to take that.
Paying for your indiscretions of your youth.
All right, back to business. Is there any other questions? Peter? All right, moving on. Get this meeting over before it starts. Fire chief comments. Go ahead, Greg.
Thank you, Jane. Just going through the statistics, I'll just provide some highlights. Ended up with September on an average 77 calls, pretty typical for the average amount of calls. So we are at, I think we're about 13% from last year, down about 13%. Yep, a little over 13% down from last year. So the numbers are starting to climb up. Everything else is pretty typical. You will see calls escalating for boat calls. I can just share with the board members that it seems like no one's available for boat rescues. We had to tow in another boat with 6 people, stranded out in Lake Michigan, where no one would respond. They had a mechanical difficulty, and it was an 18-foot boat, quite exposed out in Lake Michigan. Everyone refused to go. It went down the line. Towboat US would not respond because the people were not members. That's the first we ever heard of that. So it just goes to show you that we still get looked upon as a last resort for this. And I'm actually meeting with the county about their response protocol on when they dispatch us for towing of boats. And we did bill for this one. It went out today. Motor vehicle incidents are down. A lot less traffic on the highways. So I don't know what else would be notable on this. Fire loss, self-explanatory. Overlapping calls are down. There's your marine responses for boats in distress. Got to keep in mind that, can you go back to that slide, please, Chris? The significance of this is, keep in mind that there was no boating for about 2 months. So this is a short time frame to have 8 boats in distress. That's the significance of this. Okay, you can go on, please. Property protected values. You can see we're about $1.1 million on protected property values. Okay. Douglas Cove, Grace of Douglas, as you know. Everything else is pretty much in line. Great job once again by Eric. This is significant. I'd like to show this screen. I guess we're on it right now. It'll show grants since 2014. And then significant for the board members to know, to tell their municipalities, is year to date, you're $144,500 for grants. 10 months, you're talking about $14,000 a month for grants. So make no mistake, we work pretty hard at this, and I think it shows. More about the grants later on. But total is 536,000 plus in grants from 2014 donations of about 38,000.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Community risk reduction. Unfortunately, we've had 89 fatal deaths year to date. There were some more deaths in there, but they were removed because they had been determined they were arson. Those weren't accidental fires.
Oh dear.
Grant teams working hard. Chris, I believe, submitted the 2 additional grants to our insurance company. You can see those listed on your screen. And as we talked about, what came in after the board meeting were 2 more grant awards. These aren't applications, these are grant awards. 27,000, that should be a 27 comma rather than $27. So it's $27,000 awarded to the first responders, and the second grant is just under $59,000. What the purpose of this grant money is for, to reimburse the fire department for wages incurred to focus on COVID and things that took us away from other responsibilities. COVID occupied our time. I believe the grant was $120,000. Peter helped Chris with this, and it was submitted, and we got $59,000. Peter and I are working on what to do with this money. My initial reaction is subject to the grant. You may want to consider another stipend to each member. We are not out of the woods on COVID yet. As most of you know, it's gotten worse. So you may want to decide to take the Social Security expense off the top of that $58,000 and maybe distribute the rest to the staff, total staff. But we can talk about that next month if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I'd rather talk about next month,
Greg?
yeah.
Is there a time limit to spend this money or?
We've already been awarded the money,
Oh,
so
there's time
it's
limit.
to reimburse the operational wages for
Okay.
time spent on COVID. I think most of you know that I was assigned to handle the county on the fire service, and so I had a lot of time during the week and on weekends to manage that. Unfortunately, Elgin County was not eligible to apply for a grant, only police and fire. So it was just something that happened. So we'll have that on next month's agenda. But great work, great job, Chris. Terrific. Peter, thank you for helping out with the grants as well.
Team effort.
Yeah,
All
all
right.
grants add up to big bucks, so thank you.
Yeah, I think just like I say, just in 2020, you've got 144,000 plus in grants. I think that concludes my chief's comments, Jane.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
you.
Moving on to unfinished business, cost recover standard operation guideline.
As promised, this just added on and cleaned up some things that Dan helped us with, some of the comments from the board. And we have used this probably 5 times since this revision. So it really just added in the towing and the watercraft recovery onto the evaluation worksheet. So it's just a follow-up correspondence.
Okay, thank you. Moving on in unfinished business, the Board of Appeals. Go ahead.
I am happy to report, I just found out from Douglas today, from manager, I'm sorry, drawing a blank.
Rich.
Yeah, from Rich, sorry about that. Just found from Rich today that they have passed the Board of Appeals. It was unanimous in Saugatuck Township and unanimous in Saugatuck City. I am not sure if it was unanimous, but it did pass. Maybe Aaron would know. It did pass in Douglas, so the fee is approved.
Yeah, it was
Good.
unanimous.
Good. And then next, I think you have Halloween, Jane. You want to bring up Halloween?
Oh, you talked about the thin blue line.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, thin blue line, correct. We very much wanted the board to consider, and I believe Dan chime in here, permission to fly a flag that shows public safety that includes law along with fire. And it's kind of a newer thing. We have one on the wall that shows a thin red line for fire, and there'll be a thin blue line for police. So since we have a great presence with Elgin County Sheriff's offices sharing our facility, we'd like the board to consider that. Dan, do you have anything to add?
No, only that I was approached by someone who chooses not to, ask me not to reveal their name, who's willing to provide that flag at no cost to the district.
Now, is this flag in addition to our American flag, or is it part of?
In addition, we would fly it underneath you.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. That's what I thought, but then somebody along the line told me it was a part of, and I thought this doesn't make sense. Thank you. Do we need a motion to do that?
Probably would. Jane, what would you like to do? You want a
Um,
motion?
I guess a motion would be in order.
Fine, what do we call it?
And red,
guess
blue
so.
line flag.
Red, blue flag? I'll make a motion to,
To display,
pardon?
a motion to display thin red blue
Okay.
line.
Okay, motion to display red, blue line flag.
Thin red blue lines flag. Is there a second?
Correct it for me.
I'll second it.
All right. We have a motion by Pullen and a second by Phelps. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Pullen,
Yes,
Phelps,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Okay, new business Halloween. Well, I'm old and I have trouble sleeping at night, so in the middle of the night, it hit me that Halloween is on a Saturday and Saugatuck, and I'm not sure about Douglas, but I know Saugatuck has been really busy on Saturday nights, and we'll have a whole conglomeration of people downtown on Halloween, starting probably around 4 or 5 o'clock. So Greg and I met this morning with Rob Folstra from the Sheriff's Department, and we discussed Halloween and how that would all go down, and the mix of children and older people who may be drinking maybe a little more than what they should, and the whole mixture downtown in Saugatuck. So we decided that with Rob, the Sheriff's Department's going to put on 2 extra walking people and 2 extra people in cars in downtown Saugatuck. And the fire department's decided, because we've had very little in the way of special events this year, to possibly put, who are you going to put downtown, Greg?
I'll put an engine and a first responder vehicle in each city, in Douglas and in Saugatuck City.
And we thought we'd put up some extra lighting, especially in downtown Saugatuck when you get beyond Butler and Mary towards that end of the street, it gets pretty dark. So we also ordered this morning 600 glow-in-the-dark necklaces that the fire department, the police department, and the sheriff's department will hand out to children to give them a little recognition as far as drivers and people on the street are concerned, and just kind of a goodwill gesture. And community risk reduction, part of community risk reduction, to make these kids a little more visible while they're out. I live downtown. Kids have a tendency to run back and forth across the street. Sometimes they aren't supervised by parents, sometimes they are. But we're just trying to keep the downtowns a little safer. So this will go on in Saugatuck and Douglas. So I was just kind of giving a report of, that we do have somewhat of a plan.
What time is trick or treating in Saugatuck? What are the
I-
trick or treating hours?
I did get a response
Okay.
back from the city and from the police department as well. And it's supposed to be 5 to 8. We're working with the schools to coordinate anything that they may be involved with. And I'm waiting to hear some more details back from Douglas Police Department.
Okay,
We are in Douglas on our city agenda today. We have a proposal to recommend 5 to 8 p.m. as trick or treating hours in Douglas.
okay,
Great.
good, thank you.
I noticed on Facebook that some people are reluctant to go out. Some people are reluctant to hand out candy. I'm going to recommend on the Saugatuck Facebook page that we kind of go over this stuff. What's acceptable. If there's not a light on, please don't go up to doors, that kind of thing. So it'll be different this year, but we'll see what happens.
That will be.
Maybe you could do that as well in Douglas, Aaron.
Well, within our city council packet, there's about 5 or I guess 3 pages from Allegan County with Halloween guidance.
Right.
That might be something good to share.
So yeah, we'll probably get that on the Facebook as well, Facebook page as well. Just trying to keep those kids safe. Okay, moving on to correspondence. There's a staff letter to the fire board in the packet. As information.
I think that was submitted as informational. Jane?
Mhm.
All right, moving on to public comments. Ooh, there's one more person here. Any public comment?
No, thank you.
Nope, none.
Nothing, Griffin, nothing?
Oh, never mind.
You can
Okay,
either use the raise hand function or press *9 from your cell phone.
okay. Moving on to fire board comments. Stacy, got anything?
Nope.
Dan,
Oh, thank you.
Eric?
Yeah, I do have something. I've talked to a couple people in the fire department recently, and I think there's a little concern about the election coming up in the city of Saugatuck. You know, maybe a couple changeovers. Maybe there won't be at all, and we won't have to worry about it. But if there is change, I think there's a little bit of a concern that there might be a little disruption for the fire board. And I'm not real worried about it. You know, we have 7 members and it takes an awful lot to disrupt what's going on here. I think we have a real good system. We service the municipalities well. I think it's a fair system. But with that being said, we talked about a survey being sent out, and I still think it would be a darn good proactive move. And I know the fire department's busy, but to put together some kind of survey asking the public, you know, what they think about their current fire department, what could be better, what they'd like to see changed. In that survey, maybe, you know, throw out the idea of an EMS service like we talked about. And, you know, try to be a little proactive and, you know, throw some statistics in there that people aren't aware of, you know, response times. You know, I think there's a heck of a lot of people in this community that hear the fire departments and don't understand what we do. And sometimes it gets very frustrating because people know I'm on the board. I heard it yesterday. The fire department went off and I heard, oh, a cat must be in a tree. You know, it's the old joke, but people are still don't understand what these guys put their lives up against. And it's a little frustrating at times. So Maybe being proactive with a, a service, what do they call those things? Survey Monkey. Asking the public, do you like the fire department? What do you see, can we do anything better? Can we do anything that they'd like to see? So that's just my thought.
Okay, Maeve, I think that's a pretty good idea, but maybe we could look at other entities and see if they've sent out surveys and, what questions they asked to get a guideline.
I was gonna say, I think that's a decent first step too. But on any of these any survey, it requires a good deal of planning, as maybe
Oh, yes.
more appreciated. I mean, it can't be put together in 3 weeks or
No.
or a month or whatever. And the question, you have to be careful with questions in terms of leading people one way or another and yada, yada, yada. I'm no expert at it, but I know I'm pretty good at seeing when it's been done wrong. So I think the idea is a really good one. If we can either through, as Drew suggests, seeing what other people have done, but in addition to that, getting somebody who knows what they're doing, because I think any such survey should be vetted through the fire board. I mean, we can't, rather than just let something go out and what have you. So that's, as it relates to election timing or whatever, I don't think anything substantive is likely to take place on that kind of timeline. I mean, my guess would be if this was made a priority, it would be, I don't know, 2 months before, probably 2 meetings of the board before we could, feel like we had our hands around what we wanted to say. I think Eric had, you outlined really 2 general areas. One is sort of finding a way within the survey to communicate some of the service profiles of the department and accomplishments of the department, whatever. And then second purpose is to find out whether there's some unmet need out there or some need that we haven't addressed. Those are not conflicting, but they're two purposes. So as I say, it's a planning thing, I think, but I would endorse the idea.
Yeah, and Dan, you're right. It can't be done before an election. I get that, but I think in the next even 6 months, I mean, even if we have some changing of the guards in the city or what have you, I think the school did a great job when they did their questions, and from a private standpoint, I did one for Isabel's Market, and they did a phenomenal job asking the questions that they'd like to see on that, what I'd like to see as a customer. It's just something that, and a lot of people don't answer surveys, I get it. But if we could get a decent response, and I'm not even sure how you reach out to the most people, but I think the discussion has to start. And I think as a board, we do something like this, it shows that we are trying to provide the community the best possible service that we can provide for their dollars.
I agree.
Okay, moving on. Scott, do you have anything?
No.
Aaron?
No, other than I agree a survey is a good idea, mainly to show that we're interested in listening and hearing where we are doing well and where we could improve, but also agree that I don't see any reason to tie it to the election timeframe, and I don't think it's possible to get it done before then, but I think it would be a great thing to do even this fiscal year.
Okay, did I get everybody?
Yep.
Jane, can I respond to the survey? So what I suggest with the board is, if it's okay with everyone, I'll look into this and see who else has done surveys fire service wise. And I think we should craft some questions and run it through the fire board, get them vested And then once everyone's happy with the content, then we'll distribute the survey. But we'll be working on it. If the board would like me to do that, we can do it.
Yeah, I think that sounds great.
In that regard, Chief, I would only suggest that before we start writing questions, it doesn't have to be through the board, but that whomever is going to be assigned that frames up what the objectives of the entire survey are.
I agree.
So that we don't run off. I mean, you start asking questions, you can go on forever. But if we get tight in terms of what exactly are we trying to determine in advance, then we can group the questions as they relate to whatever objective is appropriate.
I agree with Dan. And the two things that come to my mind right off the top of my head is the ambulance service we talked about last week, and we just talked about towing boats in again. So there's two issues that services we don't officially provide. One we've talked about for 15 years that I've been on the board. I know Scott's been here. We talked about it 15 years ago or whatever. And another one that's just come up because no one else is doing it. And hey, maybe it's a profit center that we should think about. So I don't know, but I agree with Dan. We need to say somewhat laser focused on what are we trying to accomplish and what are the questions we want to get across.
Satisfaction with current service levels is certainly one of the objectives.
Yes.
Gauging that satisfaction, whether or not people have had personal interaction with the fire service, and whether they have or haven't, what their perception of response time, courtesy, I don't care, professionalism, whatever comes out of that. As I say, that's got to be one of the objectives. And then the other objective, at least another objective, and we have a number of objectives, but is, to Eric's point, questions relating to service expansion, potential costs, how it would work, so on and so forth in the case of ambulance or boat tows or whatever it is. So those are at least two areas of objectives. I don't know, there are probably more, maybe not.
If it would be helpful, Chief, I'd be happy to help. I've run many national and global research, survey-based research studies.
I love that, Aaron. Yes.
I was waiting for Eric.
So,
Once you wrote
Aaron,
down your name before you said something, I volunteered you, Aaron, so thank you.
Yeah, sure.
so
Great.
Aaron will be back next month with a list of questions is what I just wrote down.
Guys, who knew?
Maybe just text it to all our phones, Aaron, yet this week sometime.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that tonight.
'Cause I know you don't have anything else to do.
Thank you for that, Aaron.
Sure, my pleasure.
Okay. I guess I commented all I want to comment. So can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? A
I'll
second.
support.
I have a motion by Fox and support by Beckman. Is there any discussion? Chris, roll call vote, please.
Yes, ma'am. Fox,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Phelps,
Yes.
Poland,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes.
Everyone.
Thank you, everyone.